If you're planning on building an indoor shooting range, this will be of interest to you. I'm Stuart Mullen. I've been building gun ranges across the country for many years, and I have a new opportunity, a new offering to provide for those who are in the planning and design and budget and fundraising stage of establishing their shooting range. Now, I've been involved in establishing shooting ranges from concept to cash flow. I am there through grand opening, and I've helped formulate and refine the vision, the budget, the pro formas, and then work through the design process, permitting, hiring architectural teams, civil engineering, real estate brokers, the attorneys, the marketing firm, every single aspect of this process I have been involved. Loan underwriting and feasibility studies, you name it, there's not a part of this process that I have not touched or been involved with or provided strategy and coaching and insights. If you have a question about my capability or my depth of experience, please feel free to reach out and ask. Glad to fill you in on some details. Quick history is that I have a degree in city planning. It's a very unique niche of expertise and niche field. I did that for about 6 years and got tremendous experience through it. It was a great opportunity for me where I was employed as a city planner. But I knew it wasn't for me long term, and so I jumped to the other side of the table and started practicing commercial real estate. And that led very logically, now that I look back, into this niche of establishing shooting ranges around the country. The combination of city planning and commercial real estate just fit really nicely together. Now, you will not find, given my depth of involvement and experience in establishing shooting ranges around the country, you will not find another individual who has had as much exposure and experience with identifying, qualifying, negotiating with, and then executing through contracts, and both for services and products that are involved in the process of establishing shooting range. Of course, shooting range equipment manufacturers on the ballistic and HVAC side, all the way through grand opening, where point of sale systems and marketing expertise are brought in and brought to bear. Engagement of architectural firms, civil engineering, etc., all have fallen within my purview, and my guidance as an advisor and a consultant and a coach and a strategist becomes a valuable asset to every project that I've worked on. And it results in saving both, of course, time and money. So, what are we here to talk about? The online range conference. It is a considerable pivot from the full turnkey set of services and the way that I have historically provided them. Why I've chosen to provide in a turnkey exclusive manner only for all these years, I'll talk about more later, but the net result is my knowledge is unique across the board because I have refused to sell just a business plan, just a budget, just a pro forma, just lend my credibility or expertise or insight on site selection or how and when to engage an architect. All of those things that I know, but I've not deployed them individually as just a single item that you can purchase. It's been in and among an entire process, the entire process from start to finish. That's why I don't have 20, 30, 40 shooting ranges that I've established. It's closer to a dozen. But my depth of knowledge and expertise and experience, not because I have superior intellect, because I don't, but because of my experience, I bring great credibility to those who choose to engage my services in and throughout this process. Whether they're engaging an architect or talking to their lender's underwriter, my presence at the table is effectively a game changer. So the online range conference takes that entire turnkey process and says, let's isolate on what I see as the most important. Why is the initial step in this process of establishing your business model, which is what the online range conference does, why is it so important? We will get into that. first, let's talk about who the Online Range Conference is for. My position, my opinion is that it's for an entrepreneur who is interested in the firearms industry and is obviously a firearms enthusiast and has an interest in running a team, running a multi-million-dollar opportunity. As I mentioned early on, more than half of the ranges I've been involved with have gone on to then raise money a second time and build another or multiple locations. In fact, one of them in 2023 took all of their range locations and bundled them up and sold them to a venture capital and retired. So there's a lot of opportunity within the shooting range space, and I'm excited about the opportunity to offer it in this online format, which I'll describe with an overview as a second step in this presentation. And then thirdly, we'll talk about some benefits and bonuses and then next steps. So the objective is primarily to provide to you your business model. And the steps that lead to that business model are broken into 7 modules, which I'll talk about more in a few minutes. But it's an effort to go through systematically the necessary due diligence on you, your vision, your market, and then your budget to build your facility, and then how will that budget and your market perform collectively in terms of the return on investment. So how will we do this? It'll be through the use of technology. This is not a indoor range equipment tour or sales pitch process. Most shooting range development conferences are half sales process and relationship building, which is of value. I'm not saying that you shouldn't do that. Range Systems, Action Target, both consistently these days are still doing the range conferences. In fact, Range Systems is having one at the end of October. And it's a great opportunity to network with those guys and get to know and see their equipment up close and personal. Walk down range and see it if you've not laid eyes on it before. It's just a great learning experience. But from my perspective, it does not substantiate your business model. It doesn't validate your vision, and it doesn't put the foundational elements of your business model together. It just gives you more ideas. And this is very focused and intentionally not going to include much conversation about ballistic range equipment. We'll talk about it, but our percentage of our time is going to be very small as it relates to talking about range equipment. So this is only for those who have been qualified and pre-screened through a pretty simple and straightforward screening process, and then have registered for a limited number of seats. The format, again, is really through the power of the web and Zoom calls and file sharing, and there'll be basically a members only private portal that files will be shared and uploaded, and videos like this one will be provided for you to review and stop and rewind and listen to again if necessary. Live calls, multiple live calls every week to field the questions that you might have about that particular module and the topics that we're focused on at a given moment. And you'll hear the answers for the questions that are being asked, and you'll get answers to your questions, and collectively you will learn and progress in that environment. So again, the results are that you have a detailed budget document, your vision, which is physically a table of the physical uses that make up all of the individual uses in your range, from retail to classroom to members lounge, event space, to the range bays themselves. And it accounts for not only the physical construction of all those spaces, but also all of the related startup costs. So we will statistically look at and analyze your market from a demographic perspective and validate your vision accordingly. Now, if your vision or expectation is for a 32-lane gun range, 5 lanes, 100-yard, and 5,000 square feet of retail, and you are in the suburbs of Albuquerque, we might have to have a conversation about what your demographics really suggest. So I'm going to really lend my credibility and knowledge and the formulaic data that drives how many shooting positions and how much retail square footage and how big should the overall range facility be to accommodate your vision. In the end, you end up with the information that you need to be armed with both knowledge and data to speak in a very clear manner about your range vision to investors, your lender's underwriter, and then ultimately to your architect. They don't need to see the finances at all. Your contractor doesn't need to see your budget. In fact, I would never tell a GC what my budget is. More on that later. But the knowledge that you have and the foundational elements of what the online range conference offers will empower you in those conversations, whether they're about the budget and financing or about the design or permitting with the city officials or neighborhood groups. If you have to go through the zoning process, having the validation and the budget documentation behind the decisions that are influenced by the processes along the way will be invaluable. Okay, so just a quick snapshot of some of the budget documentation. Like I say, it's going to include the supporting information of a table of uses, your human capital, budget for salaries of employees, full-time and part-time, as well as the cost of money, your amortization table, the construction cost on a detailed breakdown. This is typically, the cost to establish is typically 40 to 60 line items, depending on the size of the facility. What I want to clarify here is that 40 to 60 line item budget is not chairs in the classroom, tables in the classroom, dishwasher in the break room, desk in the, those are all FF&E items that are in one single line item out of 40 plus in your cost to establish budget. So your cost to establish is going to include real estate, all of the soft costs, all the hard costs, all of your working capital, everything that's startup related. If you don't know what soft costs are, the online range conference is going to be very beneficial for you to empower you in those subsequent conversations that you're going to have. So the net result is a 10-year pro forma, annual inputs and outputs, and a return on cash so that your investors, your lender, everybody sees clearly what the projections are for generating profit from this venture. What that means is that we have supporting data at a very almost microscopic level, at a very detailed level of how many handguns are we selling, how many memberships are we selling, what's the cost from your distributor of each gun, and how many guns are you going to sell average per month, what's the margin. All that data is within these planning and budget documents that you'll have and you walk away with at the end of the online range conference. So if you haven't seen it, here is the outline. It is 7 modules, like I mentioned earlier, and it's very intentionally structured. I am focused on building blocks so that the first effort in this is the discovery questions and vision and mission statement and all of the ideas. It's kind of it's really a fun conversation to hash through. Why are we including retail and how much retail, and are we going to be selling bolt guns, and if so, why? Are we going to have 100-yard? What's the benefit? I've had plenty of industry people tell me that 100-yard is a foolish idea. Yet I have range owner operators who have built a gun range that included 100-yard, and then when they went to build another one, they included 100-yard again, not because they had to. So all of these issues we will discuss and work through so that you have the ideas and the information and the historical knowledge that I've got as you make your decisions before your budget is complete and your revenue is projected. Because if you start making changes later in the process that should have been dealt with on the front end, you're just causing delays. You're going to complicate your conversations with your investors. You're going to delay the ability for the bank to review and underwrite your deal. Your architect is not going to know they're not going to focus efficiently on what they need to design. So let's deal with all of those variables and issues on the front end in the first module or two in the online range conference, so that you are then moving forward with great confidence and can move at speed. The cadence with which you move through this process from here until grand opening is critically important. If you're delayed and rehashing and taking 2 steps forward and three and a half step back, or 1 step back, time kills deals. And so going slow and methodical in this within this module process is going to be greatly to your benefit. I'll go quickly here. We're going to hit demographics, and we're going to use a statistical proven formula for analyzing your market on a demographic perspective. We're going to provide those demographic reports to your investors and lender for their underwriting processes, and they'll be able to see clearly why you've made the decisions you have about how your building square footage is designed and laid out, so that there's not a lot of discussion or debate. What we don't want to do is start involving other people in the executive decision-making process that you as owner-operator should be capitalizing on, and it should start and stop with you. So I want to empower you in this process. Modules 3 through 6 are really focused on building the business model through the budget. And then module 7 is the pro forma document itself, that 10-year projection. So the online range conference walks you through step by step, but module 7, you can't start with it. If you're just going to kind of listen and casually participate and then show up at module 7 and say, hey, I'm done. No. If you didn't do the hard work on the first 3 to 4 modules, then you are not effectively, you're not going to have the end result that you need. But I will walk you through step by step this process to help ensure that you are well equipped and gaining the knowledge and insights that you need. We'll look at floor plans from across the board. We'll dive deep into what makes a retail space work. Let me pause just to talk about the online range conference, whether you're interested in it or not, whether you qualify for a seat or not, whether your effort to build a gun range is going to benefit significantly if you will accept the fact that the retail component of a typical gun range is the hardest part. The hardest part to design in a way that you get the customer experience correct. It's hard because you've got a lot of inventory to manage, and so you are in that retail environment, you're making money when you on your purchase, when you buy, not when your customers sell. There's not a lot of margin in firearms, and so firearms are used typically in many instances to leverage into other higher margin products and certainly services. Just understand the retail side of a gun range business is way harder than the range itself, even though the range on a per square foot basis is really expensive. Pro tip and insight for you moving forward. Okay, so what are the options and what is the, for engagement of myself and my services, and what are the benefits? We've talked briefly about what the modules include. They come from my historical involvement, as I mentioned, on a turnkey basis, which is typically calculated from a fee perspective as a percentage of total costs, total being your total project cost. And that turns into a 6-figure sum because it's a 1.5 to 2 years worth of time, and it's one-on-one, very focused, very intense, and highly customized to the needs of those that I've built gun ranges for historically over the years. I think it's in part why they're so successful is because it's just been very specifically tailored and crafted to the needs that they have on the ground as they navigate through the process. The benefit is now I'm able to offer this online range conference with all of that knowledge and insight in a unique and really powerful way. So for perspective, that is an option. It remains an option, but it's a limited option because I have a limited amount of time. Now, if you want to go through just the online range conference modules, which excludes pursuing real estate, engaging an architect, engaging a general contractor, dealing with zoning. Those are all things that come after the online range conference 7 modules. You might have already started on it. My encouragement is to press pause firmly on all of those efforts and all of that energy and all of the potential expenditures that you might incur, and get this foundational work done. It will empower you to stop all those other efforts, what I refer to as the implementation phase, and focus on the work product and the results of the online range conference. Solution, the full turnkey I described, the turnkey solution is $42,000, $42,500. That's offered one-on-one, gets you through the 7 modules, and you're not a part of the big group setting. It's not something that I'm really promoting. It is an option if you're interested in it, but it's not my focus. I don't think it's the most effective way to go about this, but you might have circumstances that just dictate that those are your needs. If that's the case, just reach out and we'll discuss it. A la carte option, to where it's broken up into 2 stages. Again, I don't think this is the most effective, and I'll explain more in a few minutes because of the investment in money that you see at $10,100. But effectively, you're able to take module 1 and 2 as a bite, as your first and initial commitment, and then stop. If you take your vision process and tie that vision to your local demographic, you can just buy that amount of knowledge and information. You'll have to buy your customized market report, which is an additional cost of $900. And then if you like what you see going forward, you can go forward into the balance of that process for, again, a total of $10,100. I think you'll see why in the next slide, or couple of slides, why that a la carte option is not ideal. I don't like the idea of you taking, this initial validation and then just being on your own going forward. So what the online range conference does is says, yes, I want to get through this entire fundamental, foundational education and knowledge, and take all of the knowledge and information, data, spreadsheets, examples, images, and so forth, and combine that into a complete picture, the completed business model of my customized indoor gun range for my location. That cost is $7,150. It gets you through all 7 modules. Now let's talk about some bonus benefits, if you will. For that $7,150, I am including your copy of your National Shooting Sports Foundation report. If you're already a member or you already have one, we can discuss it. If you haven't ordered one, don't, because I will have some specific parameters on which that report should be ordered so that we can do the work the way that we need to and make the proper comparisons. So don't be in a rush to get it done. Let's do it within the process, which is really in module 1, I think, maybe module 2 at the latest, to get it ordered. Second is historical demographic reporting that I have used for even prior to this niche of establishing gun ranges in commercial real estate, which focused on retail, is demographic reporting that for gun ranges will allow us to do 2 more reports or give 2 more perspectives on demographics in addition to the National Shooting Sports Foundation report, and that is a comparison of potential locations in your market if there are more than one, and then secondarily is a comparison of your location to out of your market, out of your statistical, metropolitan area. Look at other ranges in other states and compare population and household income so that you and everybody else that's going to look at this opportunity have an understanding of, in the world of gun ranges, are we bigger or are we smaller relative to our demographic? This is all about, validating and justifying the investment that is to be made and accurately forecasting the opportunity for profitability. Okay, slide out of order. There we go. Okay, the other unique opportunity that's here is one I'm really excited about, which is the community of peers. The people, you who are in the online range conference, are going to obviously be interacting heavily with me, but then also with each other. And that portal, if you will, private forum, however you want to describe it, hub is set up so that it is password protected, and you'll be able to share as much or as little as you want from module 1 to module 7, and ideas, questions. I'll be fielding ideas and questions, obviously, as I've outlined here, but then others have done research and have ideas that you haven't done or been exposed to, and you'll benefit from that if you want to participate in that way. Ultimately, graduating from the online range conference and moving forward into that implementation phase, everybody's going to kind of break up a little bit and be at a different pace, because some will find real estate quickly and some have to get delayed by zoning. But the collective effort has the opportunity long term to be a peer group of people who you have all come through this process at relatively the same time. And ultimately, you're operators and owners of gun ranges, and again, have and benefit from a peer group of people who are have come through the process together. I think that's of great value. We see more and more of that as technology continues to change. I mentioned earlier, at least 2 live Zoom calls per week, maybe add a third depending on the questions and the ideas and the dialogue. But each module is programmed, each of the 7 is programmed so that they're 10 days to 2 weeks apart, but we will be meeting on a regular basis, and you can pop in, ask questions. I'll field those questions in that setting, and then they'll be recorded so that if you miss that time slot for that week's Zoom call, then you can rewatch the recorded session. Access to files, information, data, pictures, examples, yes, all of that is included. Your opportunity to write your narrative business plan, I'm giving you, as a part of this, no additional charge, a proven and tested template. Now, if you have an archery component or you have a food and beverage component, there's going to be some sections or paragraphs that maybe you have to customize or create if you're doing something really unique on your own, but you will have the body of documentation that has been used repeatedly and scrutinized multiple times with lenders, bank underwriters, investors. It's a document that's got to be completed really as a kind of checklist item, but you'll get a copy of that. I am not going to write your narrative business plan. You do not want me authoring that document. I'm going to help you with your business model 100%, but I'm not going to write your 30-page business plan document. Not my strong suit and not something I'm interested in, so let's not do that. Okay, skip that. Number 7 is the adjustability of the budget and the spreadsheets is really important, because the assumptions that we make going in that you have made are going to get changed and tweaked and clarified and refined. And then once you're done, your business model is complete, end of module 7, you will then encounter the real world. You're going to find a property that's better maybe than the property you had found previously, because it aligns better with zoning requirements, or it doesn't have neighbors that you were concerned about with the first site that you were looking at, or the price is different, or it doesn't have a topo condition, or all the utilities are more accessible than they are with the first site. And let me just pause here for a second on real estate, because I've had literally 2 people in the past 2 weeks call and say, I need answers for a particular property, but they don't have a budget. They don't have a projected total project cost. They don't have all this foundational work done from the online range conference. And it's problematic because I was thinking about this the other day, in only one instance have we made an offer on real estate that got accepted, and we built the range on the first property that we pursued and liked. Site selection, all other properties we've ever built a gun range on have been through a process of either multiple offers on different properties, or just took us a while to find suitable property. Suitable meaning, there's a half dozen major issues that have to be checked off. The excitement, enthusiasm around a particular property is one that I'm usually a little bit guarded about or jaded from my historical efforts. Even when we try to make a site work, before we have this foundational work completed, the business model, it's the cart before the horse. You're shoehorning your ideas and your vision and molding what your demographic might be telling you to a specific property and its constraints. That to me is backwards. Never been in a market where we could not find suitable property, by the way. The online range conference is also going to include, just as a benefit and bonus, a select group of vendors, presenters. I'm going to actually offer for you guys to provide me with feedback on who we have. I'll have a list longer than we will be able to get through, but I will coordinate that presentation and take questions from you, and then I'll act basically as moderator and advisor and inquisitor for whether it's a retail specialist that focuses on that retail setting and environment, which there's some people that do that, brought them in to the process. We can interview them. Certainly shooting range equipment manufacturers we can interview. I think any of these folks would love to participate in this process within the online range conference for an interview, because it's multiple people in one Zoom call rather than one-on-one. So finance, both from debt and equity perspective, I've got some names of folks that are looking at deals now that we can bring to the table. And you may have other ideas on having an architect come in and do an interview and talk about the architectural process. I can tell you about all of that, but hearing it third party will be certainly a benefit as well. So presenters and vendors as a part of this process is really just kind of additional bonus. Now, you've got the monetary value of the National Shooting Sports Foundation report, my demographic reports you see here on the slide. Those have value, real life dollar value attached to them, that if you're not involved with me, you will be paying. And then for those who complete and graduate from the online range conference, you end up with your finalized pro forma. You have up to 4 hours of my time, one-on-one, the value of $225 an hour, $900 total, that I'm not going to charge you. I want to be a resource and a point of support for you, even beyond the completion of the class. And so I'm offering that as a part of this. So how does the math play out when you look at the investment that you'll have the opportunity to make in your range through the online range conference? The cost is $7,150, but you're not spending $900 on your National Shooting Sports Foundation report, nor are you spending $850 on my reports and providing those for free. And I'm offering my time. So the real world value is just shy of $10,000. Okay. So what are the next steps? Next steps is pre-registration and screening. There are maybe 6 or 8 questions. I went back and made a few changes, but I will include a link if you've not filled out that screening question, that screening form. Please do that. I want to have an understanding of who you are before opening up registration to you. And then if you have questions, you can email me, and we can certainly set up a time for a Zoom call to talk about what the online range conference offers to you. If you're concerned or worried, I don't want you to be. If you register, I want it to be because you are feeling as confident as I am about what this process and the results will offer to you in terms of getting your range built, getting it built the right way, the best way. A lot of people have built ranges and struggled, and you might not know it because they're still up and running, but I know plenty of people have had a hard go, and I want to help you avoid the stress. I want to help you de-risk this process. I cannot eliminate the risk. It involves commercial real estate, it involves retail sales. There's just risks that are inherent, but I can help you by providing a lens through which you see this process and the business. And I can help you understand where the tripwires are and de-risk this each individual step and steps going forward to get to grand opening. So module 1 will kick off in mid-October. There's a lot of work for me to do from a tech perspective behind the scenes, but generally that's the time frame, and we'll be selling seats between now and then for those who are interested. Let me know if you have questions, and I'm excited to meet you.